I'm going to sit down just because my legs hurt from all the walking last week. So we're going to talk about motivation today. Isn't that exciting?
Yes, but could we also update our Gen Blue, or are you saving that for tomorrow?
I'm saying that for later. Today is a conversation about motivation. So talk to me about what you think motivation is. And if we're talking about motivation,
The desire to accomplish something.
desire to accomplish. Okay, we're done. No. I mean, it's pretty much that simple, right? I mean, that's the definition, right?
I don't know.
It's
It's a driving force.
It's a driving force. How easy is it to stay motivated?
It's hard work.
It depends.
Go ahead.
Well, I would say it depends. If you're in the groove and things are being accomplished, it's very simple to stay motivated. But if you start and then if you're always up against a blank wall, your motivation tends to decrease.
So in the good times, when you're having success, motivation is pretty easy, right? Because woohoo, we're rolling, right? When things start to go sideways and not kind of go the way you want them to go, and you look around and you're like, how's that going? You think to yourself,
Not so good.
Maybe I won't do this today. Maybe I'll go to the beach instead.
That's a lot of work.
You gotta go reset.
You got to figure out how to reset. That's a good point.
Excellent work.
So I think the levels of reset are actually kind of one of the things that I want to really focus on. Because I think with good stuff, when we're in good times, we're constantly resetting our motivation because we're in good times. And so it's an easy, quick, instant reset. Back to the high energy, back to the high energy, back to the high energy. You can have a long, long day, be exhausted at the end of the day, get up the next morning, and you're rocking and rolling, you're right back into it because you got stuff moving and you're just clicking along, right? So worst case, let's go opposite extreme of that. You just had $10 million worth of deals fall apart. You have no prospects on the horizon. Your listings all just withdrew and ran away from you. Your buyers all said you were crazy and they didn't want to go out with you anymore. Your car died, and well, we could go country western. We could go, you had to pick up your mom, pickup truck in the rain, and the
dog ran away.
Dog ran away, all that kind of stuff, right? So from that aspect, it's worst case scenario. Imagine whatever that is for you. Okay. How big of a reset do you need then? Huge, right? You need some way to just completely get yourself back to any kind of positive forward movement. And I guess that's the question is do you think that you need to try to reset yourself back up to, woo, yeah, let's rock and roll? Or can you go little steps at a time? Can you get yourself, okay, I know I need to make 5 phone calls today. I'm excited. I'm going to get those 5 phone calls. They're going to be good. And that's about as much motivation as I can muster today.
I think it comes in stages.
Okay.
Personally,
Mm-hmm.
you need a really big one to start off with because you got to get over that. Whoa, it's me crap.
Okay.
And then after that, once you've got a little momentum going, the resets get faster, easier. But you need the big jump.
You got to get going. It's like the flywheel, right? You got to get it spinning. And that first push is the hardest. Once you get it spinning, it's easier. You just push a little bit, a little bit, and it just gets going faster and faster and faster. And that's what we're looking for. I think it's personality driven as to whether you're right about that first one being big or little. I know there are people that the smallest success for them is all they need to start moving in the right direction. Whereas I do know people that they require a significant positive movement in order to have any kind of positive direction consistent.
Based upon the scenario that you set up. It's something big.
Worst case possible. No, I'm telling you, I know people that in that worst case environment, if they can say to themselves, okay, you know what? I know all this is just horrible. World is falling, sky is crushing me. If I can make these 5 phone calls and just make the 5 phone calls, not focused on, do I get an appointment? Do I reach 5 people? Whatever. Get to the point where it's a positive move that I'm going to take control, because sometimes it's about control too. It's not just about the outcome. It's about, a lot of times we feel completely out of control, which is why we get demotivated, because we just don't know which way to start. So pick something, work it. You get those 5 calls done, not one person answered, and you're really nowhere different than you were when you started those 5 phone calls, except
We started.
you accomplished something that you set out to accomplish, right? And so the next step is accomplish the next step, accomplish the next role, and find another one, and kind of go through and kind of go through. And that's really kind of the biggest issue is, you know, I mean, whether it's business or health related, you know, I mean, they say, you know, if you're trying to lose weight or if you're trying to, you know, get in shape, start with 5 minutes on the treadmill. If you do 5 minutes, then get to 10, then get to 15, then get to, you know, don't try to do an hour, because you'll start to an hour and you'll be like, oh God, I'm never doing that again. and it'll be 4 weeks before you even think about getting near the treadmill. Or if you're really crazy, you've sold it because you don't ever want to step on it again. You know, I mean, those are the kinds of things that you have to take into consideration with motivation. It is really about you. And you have to figure out, with your personality, with your, where you are in the world and what you're doing, what's it going to take? Here's the other big set that I think is relevant to motivation. Remember there was a song
By the Platters.
Mhm.
by the Platters, Only You. Because it really is, motivation is an only you thing. Your coach, your mentor, they can lift you up a little bit, but if there's nothing there to lift up, they can't help you, right? They can't get you to do what you need to do. And so from that standpoint, it really falls all on you. You have to figure out, okay, do I want to do this? How badly do I want to do this? I had a friend in the past who we were talking about losing weight, because losing weight is kind of a motivation focused thing, right? And he would say, you know, I haven't lost weight, not because I don't know what I need to do. I need to exercise, I need to eat better. I mean, you know, the plan, the business plan is there, right? It's easy. Well, the plan is easy. Execution, not necessarily. But he hadn't lost weight because he didn't really want to yet, because motivation wasn't really there. So I can tell you, if you're here and you're thinking to yourself, yeah, I really haven't made the money that I wanted to make, I can tell you that if you're not making the money you want to make, it's because you don't want to make it. And think about that for a second. That's kind of a harsh statement, right? I tried to say it in a nice, soft, gentle way. Because I know sometimes I come across with, whoa, bam, right? So I want you to think about that, though. The reality is, if you're not accomplishing what you want to accomplish, as I shake the camera there, poor people at home. If you're not accomplishing what you want to accomplish, it's because you don't want to accomplish it bad enough. Is there anything in the world that you can't accomplish if you want it bad enough?
Therapy's trying to a big place on you.
let's take an example. I want to take an extreme example.
I'd like to go to the moon, but that ain't happening.
Okay. If you wanted it bad enough,
Still not gonna
it could be done. Okay, let's take that scenario. Since you stepped out on it, that's my challenge. My challenge is to say, all right, if you wanted to go to the moon, could you pull it off? You know, here's the thing. There are multiple programs right now in the private sector that are sending people into space. So the question is, with the right connections and with the right effort to make those connections and the right whatever to get there, you could probably go to the moon. Now, you might not survive. Depends on how hard you push and who you connect with. But that's a pretty extreme example. Most, let's say, earthly things, let's stay on the planet, there's not much you can't accomplish if you don't really, if you really, really want it. Think about the extreme examples of a mother with a child trapped under a car in the street, picking up the car. Now, that's still, but it's adrenaline based on motivation. If she didn't care about her child that much, if she didn't want to help that child that much, she wouldn't be able to do it. Because we would all feel bad for a child stuck under a car, right? We would all want to help them. Do we want it bad enough to be able to lift the car? And that's part of the thing that we have to look at in business. We can all do whatever business we want to do. If you want to make $1 million in the next 6 months, you can. But you're going to want to really want it to make that happen. That's going to require, we can do the business plan, right? We can say, all right, I got to get an appointment a day for the next, 5 days a week for the next 6 months. And if I get in this price range and I can sell enough this, then I'll do it. But the question is how bad do you want it? If your business plan says you need an appointment a day, which very few people do because it's a lot. But let's just say your business plan says you need an appointment a day, 5 days a week. If it's getting towards the end of the day, you're tired, you really want to go home, you've talked to 150 people, and you haven't gotten an appointment. That's the point in time where you have to decide, do you really want it or not? Because that's what you have to kind of figure out is what is your motivation? What is your desire to reach the goal?
I was just going to say,
we all heard you.
start off, I think each person has to do a very harsh self-evaluation to figure out really what is going to motivate you and how
Absolutely.
you're going to get that started.
And sometimes we have external forces that kind of pressure us to be motivated and achieve certain goals, right? Kid goes off to college, crap, I gotta pay for it, it's expensive. Kid in private school, I need a new car, I gotta pay the rent, pay the mortgage. It's all depends. I haven't eaten in 3 days. Motivation is all specific to your circumstances. But there's something different. In particular, as an independent contractor, there's something different that you need to be able to determine. And so if you think about it, when we talked about business planning forever ago, we set goals, right? And we sat down and we said, okay, I want to make $100,000. And so if my average sales price is this, I got to do this many transactions, I got this much fallout, I got to do this, I got to get this many appointments, I got to make this many calls, right? Pretty straightforward. But how firm was that goal? Was that goal a goal that says, I can't function if I don't go forward with that? Or was that goal I'd like to make $100,000, but if I don't, nobody will die. It'll be okay. I'll still live.
Part of it's to appease you.
It's not to appease me. I don't care what your goal is.
Well,
I really don't.
that's true, except on this side of the fence, it's, If we went into your office and said, my hope is to make $1,000 this year, you would be saying, get a grip.
I would probably say this might not be the right office for you.
So what I'm saying is,
Well, I mean,
there is a degree of, is this going to satisfy your needs of us as an independent contractor?
to some extent, and I think that some of that is different depending on your personality as well. You know, how, if you see me as an authority figure, which I'm really not, then you're going to feel more inclined to lean that way. If you are truly completely independent in nature and think to yourself, he's not my boss, he's just an advisor and I don't really care if he's happy with me or not, well, that's, you know, your choice as well. Now, you know, obviously we do have a certain level of production that we believe is functional. We think full time. And honestly, if you think full time is $1,000 a year, I would think you're wrong. I just think that's not reasonable. I mean, I think if you can go work a minimum wage job and make more money, then you're not really full time in this business. And I guess that's kind of my threshold of reality. Because this business is a business where you can make a lot of money with not a ton of effort if you put in the effort when you need to. And so I think it's important that we remind ourselves and that we focus in on what those goals are, what they're important. So when you go back and review your business plan, you get to think about it, right? You have to think about your personality. If you set a goal of 100,000 and that means 10 contacts a day, randomly, okay, I'm not sure that does, let's just pretend. And your ability to hit 10 contacts a day is about 50-50. Like most days you hit 4, 5, 6. Occasionally you get 7. Once in a blue moon you hit 10. How realistic is that ability to hit 10 contacts a day? You got to make a decision at that point, right? Either you need to lower your goal, or you need to raise your motivation.
Well, one thing I would say, you know, in marketing, we talk a lot about motivation and motivation being that driving force caused by the gap between a goal and where you currently are. So for some people, though, I think they have to keep a high goal with kind of that little saying in mind, if you don't shoot for the stars, you know, yeah. I mean, you may shoot for the stars and not make it the star and make it the moon. And, you know, I mean, I think some people have to have a high goal because if the goal had been 5, they may have been getting 3 instead of 5. The goal's 10, they get 5.
Yep.
And so I think some
of
it
personality
is personality.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's interesting about, you know, I think so many people want to come into this business and be handed a plan. Here's what you do. If you do this, you'll be successful.
Well, you do that.
Well,
with the apps class, I mean,
we
hand you the ring notebook.
We give you everything that you need, but the question is whether or not it fits with your personality. And that's the thing about real estate, is there's not any one specific path that works in real estate. Now, I can tell you personal experience, if you sit down and you make 30 contacts a night with expireds, then yes, you will get listings and make money. As long as you can handle talking to expireds. Because some people would not make money that way. I've had agents run away from the phone crying because expireds are mean. And they're like, I don't understand why they keep cursing me. I didn't do anything. Why do they keep yelling at me? Because they're angry. That's just where they are. And that's okay. But if that's not okay with you, then that's not a good path for you, right? You're not going to do very well with that. But yet, I know that is a successful path in real estate. And so the reality is yes, we might hand you a notebook with all kinds of information and all kinds of stuff in it, but how many prospecting scripts are in it? Is there just one?
No.
No.
No, right?
It doesn't.
There's expireds, there's for sale by owners, there's the elevator speech, there's the call around listings, call around to sales, there's the,
7-second speech.
that's what I call it, the elevator one. The 7-second is one of my favorites. You know, I mean, all of those, and those are just a few. And then start looking around outside, oh my God, there are hundreds of thousands of scripts. And they all are designed to help you be better at the path that works for you. But knowing the script, is that motivation enough?
No.
Using the script in role play, is that motivation enough?
No.
Here's the reality. Does role-playing scripts help you get better at using the scripts and,
Of
and
course,
language?
yeah.
Yes.
So where were you this morning?
I was here.
Do you need me to do scripts?
No.
No,
Do I need to help you role-play?
No.
no.
So where were you this morning? Were you in here or were you out there?
Yeah.
And this is not a personal attack on anybody, okay? Remember, this is a general topic. But in reality, if you are motivated to be better at your job, and you know that one of those things that will make you better is to role play scripts, why aren't you doing it?
I've never seen anybody in here doing it.
And that kind of leads to the question of what's the level of motivation of the group? And does the group motivation, this is that big 30,000 level foot view, does the group motivation impact the individual?
It can.
Yes.
Absolutely,
Of course,
right?
yeah.
But yet, isn't the reverse true also? Because all it takes is one person. Think about it. JP was here. I know he was here nice and early this morning, right?
That was.
If any one of you had walked up to him and said, hey, you want to go in the conference room and role play some scripts? What would you have said?
Sure, absolutely.
That's totally letting him off the hook, right?
I should have been asking that question.
Because he could have done the same and asked any other person.
There was just Marcia and I here. There was no one else in the
I hear
group.
So, Marsha don't want to role play with you. So, from that standpoint, you know, if you need that kind of push, you got to find somebody that will help push you. So let's talk about it. We talked about that motivation is only you, but what's another offshoot of motivation? Because motivation is the desire to accomplish, right? But what else kind of goes hand in hand with motivation?
Discipline.
A discipline? What about accountability? Because to me, these are kind of the two big things that separate people that are going to be successful as independent contractors and those that aren't. Because motivation is only you. You are the only one that can motivate yourself, really, ultimately. You know, you can have a cheerleader and all that good stuff, but ultimately, if you don't want to do something, is that going to help you? I mean, I'm doing a weight loss call-in coaching program right now. And you know what I do? I just don't answer the phone when they call. I mean, if I'm having a good week, I answer the phone. I'm like, oh, look, I lost 2 pounds. I'm having a not so good week. You know, I did all this exercise. I haven't lost any weight. I really don't want to talk to you, right? Because I'm not motivated. I'm not doing what I need to do because the motivation level's not there.
Well, I think that there's a difference between the internalization of the necessary motivation, like Maslow's hierarchy. But that's different than actually acting on that motivation and the discipline to do what's necessary to reach the goals that you're motivated to achieve. And along the way, there's a lot of external types of corollaries, if you want, or at least external influences is the best way to describe it. I guess.
Sure.
They can help reinforce that motivation. You know, if
Or
your spouse
work
comes-
against it.
Or work against it. Right.
Right?
If your spouse is bringing apple pie to dinner every night, that's a bad thing.
It makes
On
it
the other
harder.
hand, if there's no apple pie and she's complimenting on you on 3 pounds that you lost, you know, those
That's a
things.
better
have-
thing.
Yeah, those are external forces that act upon,
But to
that
some
tend to
extent,
reinforce the motivation.
okay, so you've got some external forces, and I'm gonna write that small. Because over and over and over again, I've seen, let's take my wife brings me apple pie for dinner every night, which she does not. I know that if somebody really wants something, you can put the opposite of that right in front of them and they won't touch it.
Yeah, that's true.
Anybody
If they
know
want that-
anybody that's doing like the Whole30 or any of those kind of diets, like the no sugar, no gluten, all that kind of stuff? People that are successful with it and are truly motivated to be successful with it, you can put whatever their favorite kind of sugar thing is in front of them and they won't touch it. Because they've made that decision, that desire to accomplish is greater, and that's the important part. This desire to accomplish has to be greater than the desire for the brownie.
Well, but that's the discipline I was talking about. They're disciplined in their approach. They understand what the steps are that they have to take. They're motivated to take those steps, but they have the discipline to respond positively.
I have no idea how to spell this one.
CISCI.
DISC.
CIPLINE.
All right. Today I went to engineering school.
We're right back to the big wheel.
We are right back to the big wheel.
Once it gets going,
Once it gets going, it's easier, right? Because
easy to
it's like the
modify.
no, you know, and it's, I correlate back to the no sugar, say you want to stop drinking, say you want to stop smoking. Any thing that requires a high level of will or motivation and discipline, first 24 hours are the hardest, right? That first step is the biggest. That's why those first 5 phone calls are the hardest. The next 5 phone calls are easier. The next 5 are easier than that. And they get easier and easier and easier and easier. Talk to somebody that learns to run. That first mile you run is by far the hardest. By far. By the time you're running 5 or 6 miles a day, you think a mile is nothing. But the first time you tried to run a mile, you might not have made it, right? You might have thought,
Might not make a
never
quarter
gonna
of
make
that.
that. How long is this gonna take? I have to finish in less than an hour, right? So, you know, there's the discipline. So if there's the only you with the motivation, there's the discipline, and then I say there's the accountability. I think that's close. The accountability is the next step, I think. Because if you have the motivation, the desire, one of the things that you can use that desire to do is not only hold yourself accountable, but get yourself some accountability from an external force. Because I think the accountability here I think that is a bigger external force. So it's kind of that, well, it is. It's the thought process of if I have somebody else that I'm accountable to, if I say, okay, Donna, you and I are on the same path, we've got about the same goals, we both need to accomplish 10 calls a day. If I do my 10, will you do your 10? Sure. Awesome. So today, if I don't do my 10, who have I let down? Not just me. Now I've let her down too. Now, if I don't really like Donna that much, and it doesn't really matter to me, does that really affect is that good accountability?
No.
No. you need strong accountability. You need someone that you say to them, I'm telling you, whoever that you is, that I'm going to do this today, and I need you to check in with me at the end of the day and make sure that I did it. Does everybody see how that all flows through?
Sure.
All of the other training that we've done, everything that we've talked about relies on this happening. Because think about it. When you go to write a contract, if you write a sloppy contract, do you care? Some of you do. What's your motivation to write the best possible contract for your client?
You're accountable to the client.
Don't want to
Yeah.
have to correct it.
But yeah, right? And everybody has a different motivating factor, right? There's the positive reinforcement and the negative reinforcement. You have to know who you are. You have to know which side you are under. There are those of us that are afraid that if we don't do what we are supposed to do, we're going to end up living under a bridge. That's negative reinforcement at its finest. And there are those that love positive reinforcement. Oh, you did such a nice job. Yes, people cringe in the room, especially coming from me, right? So you've got to figure out how that works for you. You've got to figure out what is your real motivation. Then you have to take, and as we talked about, you got to take your level of motivation and your style of motivation, and you've got to figure out, okay, do I need to shoot for 10 to get 5? Or if I'm always coming up short on 10 because I know 6 is really okay with me, do I need to say 6 and hold myself to it?
Technically, yes.
Well, it depends on your personality. Because some people have to shoot for 10. They got it. They know. Like it's like the people trying to get someplace on time, right?
Yeah.
If you know you have to be there at 8 o'clock, are you the kind of person that shoots to get there at 8 o'clock? Or do you have to shoot for like 7:45 to even have a shot at getting there at 8 o'clock?
Mhm.
Right?
But you could also be there at 7:45 because that's what you want.
Or are you the person that shoots for 7:45 because
Because
there's no way you're going to be late at 8, right? Okay, so you got to figure out if that's your personality, well then, okay, if you need 5, then your goal needs to be 5 and you're probably going to surpass that. But if you're well, if I shoot for 8, I might get there at 8:15 kind of person, then you probably need to shoot for 10 and hope you get 7, right? And so you got to figure that out for yourself. Remember, all of this is a living, breathing business. Nothing is set in stone. Okay? So you get into this and you run 5 weeks down the road and you think to yourself, I set a goal of 10. I've been hitting 5 or 6 pretty consistently. I really don't care if I ever get to 10. I think I'm comfortable with just saying, I'm going to do 6. I'm going to make sure that I get 6. Okay, try that. And then you drop it to 6 and you focus, I'm going to get 6, going to get 6.
That could be
A couple weeks go by and you're getting 3.
That could be the
Right?
dangerous part.
And so then you got to make a readjustment, right? Okay, clearly aiming for 6 is not working for me. I'm going back to 10. And that's part of it. You've got to figure out. And I wish there was an easy just, here's the recipe, do it. But everybody is so different. You have to figure out how it's going to work for you. But at the end of the day, that motivation is the key. The discipline to accomplish what you want comes from the motivation. Because without the motivation to do it, you can't have discipline to do it, right? I mean, unless there's some external force that is overwhelming. And then it is a factor of motivation because you don't want to get shocked or beat or whatever the external forces are that make you do whatever it is that you're not wanting to do. And then the accountability helps you stay on with that. What are some ways that you can get accountability? Let's talk about that for a second. In this business, let's talk real estate specifically. Well, anything really.
Easy one is the bottom line.
The bottom line,
That's the easy one.
but that's more of a motivation thing, not an accountability thing.
But at the end,
Because the motivation, the bottom line is the end result.
exactly.
And so that to me drives motivation. Is everybody?
Yeah.
That's the way I'd see that. Accountability is more of a, okay, step one, I got to get this done. Step two, I got to get this done. Step three, I got to get this done. And it's accountability for each step as we go. Now, the driving force, which is the motivation, is going to be that, well, I need my bottom line to be this or else I'm totally screwed, right? It's the, if I don't make $50,000 in the first year, I got to go get another job. So you make 50,001. Well, at least I did. Hey, I mean, I'm one of those that I need my goal to be my goal because that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to undershoot it or overshoot it. I'm going to hit it. Like that's what I aim for because that's my personality. What kind of accountability things? We talked about you
Working
each
with
other,
others.
right? Finding someone else to help hold yourselves accountable.
Mhm.
Maybe multiples, maybe a small group, whatever, right? You always might have a spouse or a partner or a friend or a kid or a parent or whatever that could help hold you accountable, right? I mean, if you go home every day and your kid looks at you and says, "Did you make any money today?" "No, sweetie, we're not going to Disneyland this year. Sorry." You know, you got to figure out in your life, there can be accountability things that are going to help you really focus. What are some maybe non-personal ones?
The In Touch is always sending reminders. So if you don't update things, you're getting more and more reminders. I mean, I think that's accountability.
That's a good one, right? I mean, if you think about it, if you load everybody into In Touch, whether it's people that come in through the company lead or people that you load into your CRM yourself, if they're on a campaign that's set to, okay, you got to do this here and this here and this here, when that list pops up, if you don't do it, and the next day, more stuff piles onto it, you start to think to yourself, whoa, hey, I got to get that done. There's some pressure and accountability there, keep you on target. Gonna make 8 calls a day if they pop up every day. Because think about it, that would work, for instance, if you use your sphere of influence. Say you have 1,000 people in your sphere of influence, and you say to yourself, okay, I want to talk to everybody in my sphere at least 3 times a year. Okay, that means I need to do 1 call every quarter. No, every 4 months.
You're the engineer.
I'm the engineer. I need a calculator though. It's every 4 months. So that's what, 25 a month? No, 250 a month?
If you-
I think factors. 250 a month, and then so roughly 60-ish a week. So a little more than 10 a day, maybe 12 a day, if you do 5 days a week. So you could set up your system to put everybody on a call set and say, okay, this group of 12 people, I'm going to kick off today. I'll call them, put them in. Now I know I need to call them 4 months from now. And it'll auto pop up, right? And so you'll have your calls. You'll have your list of people you're supposed to call right there in the morning when you wake up. makes it hard to, I mean, there's an accountability factor there. There's also a ease of doing it factor, right? I mean, if you have your shoes and socks and whatever next to the treadmill instead of all packed away around the house, it makes it easier to get on, right? Theory. What's another external force or accountability system that you can utilize? It's a big one in real estate. It's a big one in life. It's a big one in sports.
Coach?
A coach. Nice. You can have a coach, right? Now, you can have a coach that is, for instance, in our office, I coach people. But maybe my coaching style doesn't work for you. Maybe you don't connect with me just right. You can pay people to be your coach. Speaking of the Jim Blue experience that I just went through, one of the big people there, one of the big speakers was Tom Ferry. Tom Ferry runs a paid coaching program. So for $600 a month, you can talk to a coach every other week. Do the math on that. That's $300 a phone call. That's a half an hour phone call.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. One of the interesting things in conversations that I found interesting is I coach here in the office. It doesn't cost you anything. Do you know how many people I coach in this office? Out of total, like percentage?
I would hope more than 50, but I bet you.
Mm-mm.
Like,
You can't even take a zero off of that and it be accurate. Okay? So the reality is that because it's free, well, it's just Brad. I'll only call him when I need him. I don't need coaching.
But in a sense, it's not free because we're part of the organization. We're splitting our commissions with the organization.
You are.
They're providing us all.
So in
kinds
theory,
of-
you're paying for it,
Yeah,
whether you use it or not.
right, yes. In my theory, but
But it's awfully easy to disconnect those two things.
yes, it is.
Whereas if you're writing a check every month for $600, are you going to be on that call every 2 weeks?
Oh, yeah.
Are you going to do, if they say, okay, you need to do this, this, and this before the next call, are you going to do it?
That can be a negative.
It can be. And again, that's a personality thing, right? So some people, it's like gym memberships, right? If you're paying $150 a month for a gym membership, some people are more likely to go than if they just have the treadmill in their living room that they walk by every day because it's there, it's already paid for or not, whatever, it's just sitting there.
And if they're paying a coach at the gym, they'll even.
And if they're paying a coach at the gym, that personal coach, you're more likely to show up because they charge you whether you show up or don't, right?
Right.
The good ones do.
Wow.
And that's the way the Tom Ferry thing works, right? Because you pay $600 a month, whether you make the call or not. Now that's just for the other week one. It's $1,200 or $1,100, something like that, for a once a week call.
And I'm sure that he has tremendous success numbers.
Thousands
Yeah,
of people that do it.
we have.
And think about it. If you're paying that much attention and you're that level of accountability, are you going to be more successful? So here's my question. This is my parting question comment, rhetorically speaking. Okay, because it's not a personal question. It's a rhetorical question for everyone to consider. How does accountability work for you? Are you the type of person that needs to write the check? Can you logically connect to yourself and say, okay, so part of the reason that I give Coldwell Banker a chunk of my money every time I sell something is for this benefit. So technically I am writing a check? Or are you the person that can say, you know what, you're right, I just need to engage with someone and that needs to happen. And that's the question. No coach is ever going to chase you. I found it very interesting. I will use Tom Ferry as an example. Here's a guy that makes his living off of coaching. Do you know how hard he sells when he talks about his coaching program? Do you think it's a hard, strong, closed sales pitch? You need to be a part of this coaching program. Does he want people to sign up for the coaching program that don't want to sign up for the coaching program? No, he wants people to sign up that are going to participate. He wants people to sign up because here's the deal. He'll give you your money back if you aren't happy. If it's not working for you, which he's done.
It's his turnover rate.
Not very high. Like less than 10%, I think. Because he doesn't hard pitch. And no good coach is going to chase after you because think about it. If you're a professional athlete, that coach coming after you saying, you got to come to practice, you got to come to practice, you got to do what you got to do. You know, you really need to engage. We got to get together. Is that athlete going to do very well? Is the coach's impact with that athlete effective?
I guess it depends on the person. Some people probably do need that.
But to some extent, if you don't have the personal desire to accomplish, to at least engage. Now, again, you might have to pay to get yourself to engage. You might have to realize that you are paying to engage, or you might just choose to engage. But if you can't engage, truly, it comes back to the only you. Because the greatest coach in the world can't get you to do something you don't want to do. And that comes back to the whole topic of what we talked about today, right?
Mm-hmm.
Motivation. All right?
All right.
So, go out there and see how motivated you are. Thank you guys for coming. I appreciate it. And we will see you all next week.
Thank you.